Hey, what's up, guys? I just came back from movie theater. Went to the IMAX here in Florida. At one of those movie co palaces. They have like beautiful seats and everything. Uh, so, uh, okay. First thing, okay, this is how I'm gonna do this without spoiling the movie, because the last thing I want to do is say something to spoil the movie. I'm gonna give you the positives and then the negatives. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this movie will be different for everybody. Uh, People who are my generation, old geezers, who, grew up watching Top Gun 1984, 1986. When was it? 1986. People who grew up watching Top Gun back in the early 80s. This will be very different experience than, let's say, this generation who just likes, what's the proper word? A jet fighter porn, if you will. Like the first Fast and the Furious for the street racing. So it's kind of like for this generation. I think the reason this movie is gonna do so well because of the jet fighter porn. The way it was filmed, the way it was shot, and all that. That's what I like to call it, jet fighter porn. That's just my observation. So let's jump into the movie. Well, right from the beginning, let's talk about the positives. The positives to me, right from the beginning, was the way they paid the homage to the first movie, like that nostalgia. Like Tom Cruise was aware that, hey, yes, we're making a sequel after 36 years, but we still have to keep that homage, that tribute to the first movie, because the first movie was the classic, the all-time favorite classic. Ask any Air Force pilot, ask any U.S. Navy pilot, ask any pilot around the world, and they'll tell you Top Gun was, one of the reasons why they wanted to get into to become a pilot, jet fighter in the first place. Not just a jet fighter pilot, but also pilot in general. So, the first Top Gun, it's like the old time classic. All that pop culture came in from the original Top Gun. I mean, Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise today because of a Top Gun movie. If it wasn't for the Top Gun, no one would even care who he is. Let's just be honest. That movie opened up the doors for him to do other things. Uh, and it's same to say for the Val Kilmer and all the other actors who were there that opened up the door for them. And of course the great late Tony Scott. Unfortunately, Tony Scott passed away in 2012, so he couldn't direct this movie. Um, but they did pay an homage to even Tony Scott and the music and everything. So you're gonna love that. So that's the positive to me, right there for those of us from our generation of 1980s. Uh, we're gonna feel like, hey, Tom didn't forget about us. Like he paid an homage to that. Like, hey, I got you, covered. Don't worry. I know you feel that nostalgia. So does he. So does he. So I like that they got that right. And then we move into this new generation of pilots, Top Gun pilots, right? I don't want to spoil anything here. There's a lot of stuff in this movie in terms of actors, a pleasant surprise. And I'm not going to tell you who that actor is, but you're going to figure that out. There's a pleasant surprise. There's also emotions in this movie. You're gonna feel some emotions. This movie is like a roller coaster. It goes up and down like that. Because it makes you feel all of these things since 1986, right? Combined in 36 years. Like it's like a combination of everything, collective experience of everything put into this new thing called 2022 Top Gun Maverick. Even though a movie was supposed to be released in 2020, but anyway, you know what I mean. I like that combination, collective things of everything, right? So that's the positive right there. And of course, one of the biggest positives of this movie that I think everyone's gonna love and everyone's gonna really enjoy, besides all the other things that I just mentioned, the nostalgia, bringing the music, Danger Zone, and all that other stuff, right? Little homage, like from the first movie. So that stuff, all of that, it's awesome, it's great, and I love that. But one of the biggest positives of this movie that I think that people gonna really enjoy, both the new generation and the old generation, it's gonna be, as I like to call it, a jet fighter porn. It really what it is. It's a jet fighter porn. It really puts you right there in the cockpit. You feel that rumbling, the jet engines firing in the back. You can feel that kick, of the uh, jet fighter taking off, making all those maneuvers. The subwoofers and the speakers were active constantly. The full array of speakers of Dolby Atmos were constantly active. I mean, robust sound. It's probably one of the best sounds I've heard since like Saving Private Ryan, honestly. Like in Saving Private Ryan, every speaker was active. And the theater I was in this IMAX theater, I had like 24 speakers or something, man. It was just ridiculous. And all of them, full array of these speakers were active, including the subwoofers in the back, front, sides, everywhere, dude. It was just ridiculous. Speakers above, because it's the Dolby Atmos. Um, so the sound was unbelievable, dude. I think this movie is gonna win an Oscar for the best sound editing and also the video editing as well. And this is where I believe this movie is gonna make so much money. It's not so much the homage, and nostalgia. It's not so much, the story, which I will talk about story in a little bit. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's really the action, the video editing, even some of the stuff that they did with the Tomcats. All the little details. You can tell that they really wanted to pay attention to detail and really honored the U.S. Navy and the Air Force by uh, doing it right, by not by not screwing it up, if you will. And they did not screw it up. I spoke to some of the Air Force pilots. As a matter of fact, there was a U.S. Navy pilot next to me when I was watching this, and he said, "Oh, they got this right. They got this right, and then got they got that right." And all of this stuff, like, ooh, he checked the batteries here, he checked that comm over there, he checked the radar over here, he pulled that lever over here, he did this sign over there, did all of that, did that, all of this, um, all of these different signs, like he was telling me about, they did everything right, and that's like another key pointer here. I don't know what these signs are and what he meant by this and this and that and that and this, like and that. But he told me, like, yeah, this is kind of accurate. This is pretty accurate, and those little details, like in the movie, like the pilots, like the U.S. Navy pilots and the Air Force pilots are really going to appreciate this movie. Okay, so like I said, the biggest positive of this movie, and the reason this movie is gonna make so much money, it's not the story, it's not the characters, it's not the acting, it's really the jet fighter porn. I mean, really, it was amazing. It was truly amazing. I think this movie will probably win an Oscar for like the best video editing and the best sound effects and even the best practical effects. Now, there is some CGI in the movie, but a small portion of it, like that bridge crossing underneath, and then, airplanes getting shut down, stuff like that. There's some CGI in the movie, of course. Uh, Now, as far as the adversary, as far as the enemy, let's just call them. They're like fake Russian, like imaginary Russian enemy, if you will. Because you do see Sukhois, you do see 57s and all that. So it's kind of like a Russian. It's Russians, but not really Russians. They couldn't say it's Russians, but it's Russians, actually. It looks like it's Russians. Or Chinese combined. It's almost like a Russian-China alliance. That's what really reminded me of. That's what really reminded me of. Like Russia-China alliance, really. So the way I look at this movie, the way I look at it is that jet fighter porn. It's what's going to make this movie so successful. It's what's going to bring all of that, that big box office money. Now, let's get back to the negative. Okay, so I hope I didn't spoil too much. But let's get to the negative. One of the negatives in the movie I felt that I really didn't care for was this romance with Jennifer Connelly and Tom. It's like, like, dude, it worked on the first movie. It worked really well on the first movie, but on this one, it's like why is that so important? Why does he have to have a love interest? And do we really care in his old age that he has a love interest? We don't give a shit. Let's just be honest. That kind of worked in the first movie. In the second movie, it's like, I think Jennifer Connelly to me was just there to be like I don't know, like a supporter, to support him, like an aide, honestly. But I really felt like we could have done without her, to be honest with you. But the cast was good, especially that Monica, the Phoenix, Monica Bororo, what her name is, Monica Bororo, I think. She's beautiful, man. She's hot, and she's also cool. She got all of those attributes. She's hot, she's cool, and she also throws in some. She's like a tomcat herself. She's like everyone's every dude's favorite girlfriend, if you will. Her call sign is Phoenix, and she's pretty cool. So I like her in the movie. The guy who plays as Goose's son, he's all right. I just felt like there's too much of that like grudge that he's holding against Maverick. Like it wasn't Maverick's fault. I mean, shit happens. I mean, it's not like if you watch the first movie, it's not like he wanted this to happen to him and all that. So, what is that, a helicopter hovering over me? Jesus. I do have an airport nearby here, like a learning airport, and do have Blackhawks and helicopters once in a while. So my negative about this movie is the story and the story kind of like it really doesn't really make much of sense, to be honest with you. Like if you're gonna compare this movie to, let's say, a real life situation, no one's gonna stick around this long and be a captain, and then the Navy usually will kick you out. The U.S. Navy will say, okay, it's time for you to go, bro. It's time for you to retire. Like, get out of here. Like, the story in this movie, it's not something that you're going to talk about. The story is okay, especially coming from, like, someone like me who loves the first movie. The first movie obviously has the best story, the best characters. This one, it's really about what the first movie didn't explore. The first movie was more focused on the pilots and the story, the characters, the love story, and all that. Because Top Gun, it's a love story. Let's just. Um, but this one, it's really about that love letter to aviation. It's like what Tom Cruise says. It's a love letter to aviation, and if you love jet fighters, if you feel that need for speed, and if you love jet fighters, I think you're gonna enjoy this movie. And that's what this movie really it's aiming to do, to please you, to thrill you, and I think successfully they have achieved that. You know, to give you that thrill, and that's what we all care about. Honestly, no one really cares about the romance with him and Connolly. No one really cares about the jokes in the movie. The only thing we care about is to see that those action sequences, and there's plenty of them, and you guys gonna love that shit. Like I said, I would give it a 2 thumbs up, way up, dude. 2 thumbs up. Great movie. Go see it. If you can overlook the story, even though there's some emotional moments between two characters, which I'm not gonna tell you who they are, but overall, I would say this is a great movie. Uh, Pretty good sequel because the sequel focuses on what's important, and that's the jet fighter porn, jet fighter porn, and they do deliver on that. So yeah, go see the movie. There you have it. I hope this didn't spoil it for you. I hope this gave you some better understanding on what to expect. But it's one of those movies that you have to experience. Well, you know, just don't get too focused on the story and the characters. Okay, just focus on the thrill and the action of it. The actors and the cast is forgettable. I'm just gonna say it. They're not gonna stick with you. Maybe Phoenix. Goose's was always like Goose's son was like always like being like grumpy or whatever, like too cocky and grumpy. I didn't like that, but Phoenix was great. John Hamm was just there to be whatever, to be John Hamm. Ed Harris' character, you see him a little bit in the movie. Dark Star, I'll just say Ed Harris and Dark Star. You'll understand what I mean. There is an experimental plane in there. So, anyway, there you have it. I hope I didn't spoil anything. And go see the movie. I think you're going to enjoy it. This is jet fighter porn. What Fast and the Furious did for the street racing, this is what this movie is doing for the jet fighters. It's the jet fighter porn. And you're going to love it. Okay? Just don't expect Academy Award winning acting or anything like that. You're not going to see that. Okay? So, anyway, there you have it. I hope this 18 minutes gave you enough of info that you need to know to prepare you. So, go see the movie. 2 thumbs up. Great. Go into the danger zone. Take care.